Morning. Today is Wednesday, May 19th, 2021, and it is the Arlington County Board of Equalization hearing. The first case on the agenda is RPC 14024-125, located at 1029 North Stewart Street. The appellant's name is Mr. Kevin Reap, and he can begin his 8 minutes and tell us about his property.
Hi, good morning. Yeah, we purchased this property in December of last year. You guys have I received an assessment of $633,000. When we were purchasing the property December last year, we received a, let's see here. We got an appraisal done. The appraisal reflected a value of $575,000. That is the price that we paid for the property. It's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath unit, just over 1,000 square feet. I submitted comps, several. I submitted 5. One was, let's see here, one was 1001 North Vermont Street, number 310. That had a sale price of $570,000. That was on August 20th. Another one was 1001 North Randolph Street, unit 502. Sale price was $566. That sale date was August 20th. I won't go through all of them, but all of the comps that I submitted were significantly under the assessment. Not only that, but all of the units that were referenced in correspondence that I received from Department of Real Estate Assessments, none of them were even close to the assessment that I was given. The closest was 1020 North Stafford, which had a sale price of $605 back on in October 2019. And then the assessed value was $565. Others referenced had assessed values of $390, $403. And I understand, there are other considerations, but yeah. So that's all I have.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Mr. Carvajal for the county, please.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. The subject is Unit 318 at the Summerwalk condo. It is 1,139 square feet and has 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. It is located on the 3rd floor. The 2021 analysis showed 5 open market transactions at Summerwalk. For our analysis, we usually only stick to sales that occur in the subject's building. We don't like to use sales from other buildings because there are things we can't take into consideration, such as other buildings' condo fees or amenities. For Summerwalk, the median assessment to sale ratio indicated that the assessments needed to increase across the board, and the change was made for 2021 to increase the improvement by 10% for both 1 and 2 bedroom units. Since a limited amount of sales occurred during the analysis, Comp 1 and 2 are 1 bedroom units and are there to show roughly where market value is at. Comp 3 is the only 2 bedroom sale that occurred in the analysis. Unit number 301 is smaller than the subject, coming in at only 1,008 square feet and sold for $604,000. The assessments for 2021 are the department's opinion of value of real property as of January 2021. In order for us to review all sales and reassess all parcels in the county, the department uses a 12-month analysis period. The analysis period for 2021 ran from September 2019 to August 30th, 2020. Wrapping up in August gives us an opportunity to verify each individual sale by determining whether it's an open market transaction or not, whether we need to update our property record, and then make the appropriate changes to the individual parcel or the building as a whole. What I like to tell homeowners is that our 2021 assessments are based on sales that occur within a 12-month period that started 16 months before January 2021. Sales that occur after August and between the assessment year are what we consider late sales. Late sales are considered before the new assessment is completed to verify that the trend that we have observed during the analysis continues. The department would not like to change the subject's assessed value to their December 2020 sales price because we're not sure if that sales price is an outlier or an indication of overall change in the market trend. We try to keep our assessments based on sales that occur within the 12 months of the analysis. The subject's sale will be reviewed for the 2022 analysis. If the board decides to take into account the December 2020 sale of the subject, they must also look at other 2-bedroom late sales as well. In the 2022 analysis period that we are in right now and will conclude in late August of this year, so far there have been 5 sales of 2-bedroom units at Summerwalk, ranging from $537,000 to $660,000. The department does not know where the subject's sale price and market value stand while comparing to those sales, but they will all be reviewed for 2022's assessment, as well as any other late sales that occur between today and the end of August 2021. Although we will consider late sales, we will put more weight on them if we have limited sales. In this case, we know that the appellant's sale is one of 5 2-bedroom sales that have occurred so far. So we still have a couple months left in 2022's analysis period to review and see if any further sales come in. What we do know right now is that when we conduct the 2022 analysis, we will have multiple sales of 2-bedroom units. That will show us whether the $575,000 sale price of the subject is an outlier or a reflection of the changing market trend. If we identify that the market value of these units has gone down in the 12-month period that comprises the 2022 analysis period, then our assessments are going to reflect that change. The department does not want to automatically change the assessment, the subject's assessment, to their December 2020 sales price, because if we make changes to that parcel or an entire neighborhood based on sales that happened in late December, we feel like the methodology is not equally applied to all 160 plus condo neighborhoods, since the other neighborhoods strictly stick to the analysis time frame, and this one would not. Thank you again for your time. That's it.
Okay, thank you to both of you. Questions from board members? I'll start. For the county, Mr. Carvajal, on the third comp that you used, which is the most similar because it's the 2 bedrooms, that sold at 605 within the analysis period, but is only assessed at 565.9. Can you speak to that?
Correct. That was something that we looked up, and I was able to go back a couple years and see, usually when we see those differences in assessment value, it means that there's a change or a difference in the base rate for those units. The base rate for the subject is higher than the base rate for comp 3. I wanted to figure out why. So we went back a couple years, and what we found was that the subject's model always trended to sell higher than the model of comp 3. And this could be seen going back a couple years. At Summerwalk, different units have different interiors. There are some that are 2-level. Both the subject and comp 3 are just 1 level. Comp 3, if you look at it, it looks more like an apartment. It's more closed in. It doesn't feel as open. The subject has a wall of windows that makes it seem more airy, more bright, more open. I don't know if that's the factor of why they sell for more, but what we had seen was that the subject's model usually trended to sell higher than the comp 3, and that's why they have a different base value.
Right, but even though in this particular instance, this sold for less money. But I guess
right.
You know whether this is
right. So we do acknowledge the the sale price. Obviously, I even spoke to the listing agent to see to make sure it was a competitive price. They said it was. So we'll see. I see the sale price and I see the assessment, but I wouldn't want to change the assessment to that sale price, knowing that we have other 2-bedroom sales that sold for a lot more. When we do our 2022 analysis, that will be the time to review all those sales and see where the subject's value fits in with those others, to see if it's an outlier or if it was a change in the market trend where early in the analysis period things were coming in lower and later they bumped up a little bit. I don't know. That will all be reviewed later this year for 2022's assessment. But you can't deny the sale of the subject. It's just it wouldn't be appropriate for us to use it using our current methodology.
Okay, thank you. Other questions from board members? Mr. Penaranda.
Yes, Mr. Carvajal, following up on that, I know that on unit 301, you have the assessment value at 565,900. Is the website not updated? Because the assessment values that I see on the website, they're much different than this. I mean, I'm looking at unit 301. The assessment for 2021 says 417,900. The assessment for unit 400, which is another unit that sold this year for 660,000, the assessment that shows on the website, it says 432,200. So there are several units like that are the assessment values that are shown on the website are different.
Are these on the comp sheet?
No, they're not on the comp sheet. I'm going to the website, the assessment website, where I can, you can look at the property search. So there's a big difference. I mean, the discrepancy, and not all of them. Unit 318, the assessment value that it shows, well, it's this one, the subject. There's another unit that's unit 107 shows the assessment value at 647, even though it sold for 579 in November of last year. So, I mean, it's all over the place. I'm not sure what, it doesn't show me a pattern. I mean, it doesn't show that the units are assessed fairly and equitable, I guess, equally.
I don't. I mean, I understand your question. I don't have the information about the other units right now. I do know that there is a lot of there are a lot of adjustments on this building. It could possibly be those. There is a floor adjustment that's in place. This building is unusual. If you look at the outside of it, there are some units that have, when it was originally sold, they called it a greenhouse balcony, but it's basically a wall of windows, and it has a portion of the ceiling being windows as well. Other units have balconies, and those features aren't attributed directly to a model. So a model or a tier could or could not have those factors, those adjustments. But unfortunately, I can't get into more detail about your question.
Okay.
I got the comps and the analysis, and that was what we were looking at.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Yates, you had a question?
To the county, you listed some outliers with quite a bit of range. How many of those are the 2-bedroom?
Of the late sales?
Yes.
Late sales, as of today, we have 5.
Yeah. How many are 2-bedroom and
all? So actually, we have more sales. It's 5 2-bedroom sales.
And they ranged again from
537, 500 to 660.
What do you see as any difference between those? The floor levels? I mean, the floor adjustments aren't very much. There's no real view adjustment.
No, we'll analyze those. Well, the first thing we want to do is to make sure that those 5 were open market transactions. We want to make sure we can use those sales, that they were competitive values. The next thing we'll look at is, in this building in particular, the units don't all necessarily look alike. There are some units that are 2-level, some are 1-level, and the floor plan doesn't necessarily translate from one unit to the other. So they look different on the inside. It's hard to explain.
Yeah, but you don't have any feel for what those 5 late sales were at all. 2-level, 1-level.
No, No, we haven't even verified them. Though that will all be done for 2022.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Hoffman?
Yeah, just the thing that jumps out to me is that this is a 9% increase over the 2020 assessment. And so could you talk on that as far as, is that in line with the general condo market in Arlington? Is that in line with the building? Is that in line with sales that we saw in 2020? I mean, how does that compare?
Right. So I would say it's pretty average from what I've seen. In fact, the not to bring up another case, but the next case we have, I know had a 10% increase. But what I'll say is, before we started our analysis, we did not know what the condo market was going to do. We caught the beginning of the pandemic during our analysis period. I personally thought that we would see kind of stagnation in value and not a lot of inventory. What we saw was actually quite the opposite. We saw an increase in inventory during the analysis period, as well as an increase in market value. That was pretty much overall in the entire county for the condo market. That's north, south, high rise, low rise. In general, the 1-bedroom units performed better than the 2-bedroom and the 3-bedroom. But that 9% increase on the building value was not unusual, to answer your question.
Okay.
All right, any other questions? Okay, Mr. Carvajal, if you take a minute to wrap up, please.
Sure. The department has no other new information to submit, just that you please look at the analysis as well as the comps that were submitted. The analysis, which is what we use to create our assessments, like I said, is a snapshot of a 12-month period. And our assessments reflect that time period. Any sale that occurs after that is a new 12-month period that will be used for another assessment year. If we start pulling sales out of that other analysis period, the department believes that it's not fair to other buildings, other neighborhoods, where we strictly stick into the time frame. If we see a late sale that comes in September, October, we might put a little more weight on that, but something that happened in late December, when our numbers have already been concluded and finished, I would ask the board to please stick to the time frame and observe the sales that happen in that time frame. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Reeve, if you take a minute to wrap up, sir.
Sure. I would just point out, so I understand the time frame that you guys are looking at based on your methodology. I know that I know you pointed out that I don't think you found anything in this exact building during that time frame, and that's why you look elsewhere for comps. But I would say, I don't think it's possible that the reduction from when you're comparing the assessment that you guys gave of 633 compared to the sale price that I purchased this on the open market for 575 in December. I mean, it's indicative of what the price was during that time frame. There's not been a significant downturn in the market that would match the reduction from 633 to 575. That's only a 3-month difference. The other thing I would point out is that there is a comp that was referenced that is part of the Summerwalk property. There's 2 buildings in Summerwalk. That other building's 1020 North Stafford, and that had an assessed value of 565. That was also a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom. In addition to that building, it was comparable square footage, but it also was 2 floors. My unit is 1 floor. Yeah, I would just lastly just say, I mean, the difference is, I mean, between the purchase price, I mean, the $63,000 difference is just enormous. I just don't think that can be ignored.
Okay, thank you. All right, it is just among the board members. I mean, I'll start. I I understand the new sales of this 537 to 660, which, you know, will certainly be looked at for next year. But I'm struggling with the comp 3 in the building that sold at 605 and is only assessed at 565.9 without additional information. And I feel like maybe if the new sales, just like the county saying, we can't look at that, you know, on a low side, we also can't look at it on a high side. So I don't know. I'm somewhat struggling. I'm almost ready just to go back and put it at the assessment from last year and let the new sales work itself out.
That's exactly where I was going to, and I just think that the county really has to do some analysis of this building. What the differences are there. It seems like the assessments and the variation of units is all over the place. There's not a consistency. And just to say a 10% increase, but I don't know that the sales and the comps or anything are really showing it to that level.
Mm-hmm. What's everybody else? Mr. Penaranda?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the only one that is high sale price is the one that sold for 660, and that sold in March of this year. The other sales are ranging between 537 to 605. And then when we look at the sales price and the assessment ratio, I mean, it's really not, I don't think it's fair that, you know, just this unit is going to be assessed at 633. And then, I mean, there are a couple other units that are assessed higher, but we're taking a look at this unit. So yeah, I would agree. I think going back to last year's assessment, that would be a fair way to do it.
Right, and we may find out in this information that it was, you know, the REIPs just happened to get a good deal on it, and it may not be indicative of what's going to happen next year. But I think for this year, you know, I'm really struggling. But Mr. Matzkin.
I appreciate the struggle, but what I don't appreciate is just going back to last year and assuming that there's no appreciation in this in similar condominium buildings. I don't understand that, and that's supported a little bit by. I am sympathetic. This seems to be an outlier assessment. On the other hand, the subject, just as a yardstick, not as a guideline, not as a rule, is assessed per square foot less than comp 3. So it's not completely out of whack. And the assessment, not sales, just assessment per square foot. So I would favor finding a middle point between last year's assessment and this year's proposed assessment, and not just saying, no, there's no appreciation and that's the end of it. And with everyone, of course, I agree that we need to ignore sales outside the assessment period. That's just a very slippery and dangerous slope.
Well, I'm just going to jump in here before I think Mr. Hoffman, you wanted to say something, but I mean, Mr. Matzkin, two things. One, the reason that I was fine with the 580 going back to last year's is because the one sale that we do have of a 2-bedroom in the analysis period is assessed at 565.9. So it is higher than that. And second, I don't think it's a good idea for anybody on the board to be looking at an assessment per square footage calculations, because we don't do that. We tell appellants all the time, don't do things by square footage. We don't analyze that way. We don't assess that way. So to come out and use that as an argument, I think that that's a very weak argument and one that I would discourage board members from using. But that being said, Mr. Hoffman, what do you?
I agree with how you're looking at it, Mary. And I think being 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms on the same floor is more valuable than the fact that one is 100 square feet or, you know, more than the other to the market.
Ken, and my issue is that the building is all over the place in their numbers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the county's got a handle on it yet.
Well, and in fairness, I mean, you've got a pretty wide spread. If you've got a sales spread of 537 to 660.
Right,
So
and just arbitrarily say we're going to increase it everything 10%. I don't get it. Anyway, I'm for last year.
Me too.
All right, well then I will move to reduce the assessment back to the 2020 assessment of 580, 600.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second by Mr. Hoffman. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, it is 4-1 without Ken. The assessment is reduced back to last year's assessment of $580,600. Thank you, Mr. Reed.
Thank you, guys. Have a good day.
Thank you, you too. Okay, do we have, I don't know whether it's Mr. or Mrs. Kumko and
Yes.
Yes.
can you turn your camera on, please?
I don't have a camera.
Okay, which one are you?
1222 North Meadow Street.
No, I'm just saying, are you at a 202 number?
Oh, 202.
202, okay.
202.
615.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes, exactly.
Okay, so next on the agenda is RPC 17037-249 at 1222 North Mead Street. And Miss Kumko is on, but there's no camera on her. So Ms. Kumko, you can start with your 8 minutes and tell us about your property.
Okay. As appraiser knows, this property was sold at $349K on November 1st, 2020. 1 month before our sale, there was another unit of the same complex sold at $356K, but this unit had new HVAC system, new kitchen appliances after the seller couldn't sell quickly. So they, renovated everything. So I argue that the estimated market price is not a correct market price of this unit. Appraiser relied on only a few transactions in the relevant period, and the prices appraiser looked at were larger outliers. The paucity of corrected price information and appraiser's reliance upon a price that happened to be significantly higher than the average of market price caused the skewed calculation. Compared with purchase prices of other properties, the estimated price is greatly affected by appraiser's understanding of price projection in Arlington County, which has increased over the past several years. However, appraiser failed to carefully examine the representativeness of the sample prices and took a nearsighted assessment of market prices. It's evident the area where the unit is located, Fort Myers, is quite different from northern side of Arlington County, like Clarendon, Virginia Square, Lion Village, Old Dominion, Boston, etc. Also, the price trend of 50-year-old condominium is very different from the price trend of houses, especially COVID-19 changed everyone's lifestyle and preference for property. Appraiser did not use data based on these factors, even though these factors usually decide the ultimate purchase price. The great majority of market data about property values in Fort Myers indicated that the price of old condominiums has remained stable, almost the same, until November 2020. Unlike appraiser, appellant was not influenced by one transaction because it is risky to base one's purchase judgment upon a fewer number of prior transactions. Appellant closely followed the property price of Fort Myers in comparison to other areas of county as a home buyer and differencing multiple sources, including letting the zone. And one thing appellant February noted was Fort Myers was a single residential area whose real estate price had been stable for almost a decade. That is the reason why appellant chose the area. As submitted evidence indicates, condominiums situated in Fort Myers have not seen the price surge other areas experience. Land price increase of 50% is suggested nowhere. The price estimated provided by online databases are produced through a combination of number of actual transactional data, considering many features such as reference properties, distance from target property, etc. And that database did not show such land value increase. Appraiser did not use a formula to calculate the market price based on the actual conditions of property, as Levin and other estate agents usually do. A few things that are relevant to market price were not mentioned or omitted from appraiser's report. First, apparent unit has not been renovated like other units in the same community. Rather, it looked run down and gloomy. The original discarded floor was covered with lowest quality carpet. The wall was painted with lowest quality paint. The electrical wiring was outdated and neutral is not grounded. The bathroom was no ventilation. The kitchen stays the same with the original kitchen. HVAC was never updated and more than 60 years old. There are the reasons why no one else tried to purchase the unit at apparent price. Second, apparent condominium is not as popular as Prospect House or Monument Place, where more modern houses located. Third, apparent unit should have been purchased at lower price because seller misrepresented facts about unit electricity, even though apparent explicitly requested so, and such wiring repair became the precondition of the closing. In fact, the seller tricked apparent into believing that the wiring of the condominium was corrected and is grounded. The seller's agent submitted a county's permit of a different inspection as proof of correct wiring. 1 month after moving in, apparent was told by an electrician that the whole explanation was a lie, and current condition is more dangerous than before. The unit electrical work conducted by the seller is violation of Arlington's electrical code. Apparent spoke with the county inspectors who rejected the seller's representation. Based on such extraordinary facts and general market trends, apparent submits the price of the unit should be no more than $340K for the year 2020. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Carvajal.
Sure, thank you. The subject is unit ES313 at Roslyn Heights condo. The unit is 840 square feet and is located in the east building of the community. The unit is 2 bedroom and 1 bathroom. The analysis showed that 1 bedroom models should not see an increase in value and that 2 bedroom units should all see a 10% increase to their model base rates. This increase was similar to other older condo buildings in that Fort Myers, Iwo Jima area. Even with the 10% increase to 2 bedrooms, our assessments for the sales that occurred in the analysis period are still under their sales values. I met with the homeowner and discussed with her concerns about the ground issues with the electrical in her unit, as well as the work that needs to be done to the HVAC system. It was discussed with the appellant that the department cannot take into consideration deferred maintenance or issues that are commonly found in buildings of this age. The building was built in 1952 and grounding residential electrical was not common practice until later. Although this would not be up to code for 2021, there is nothing wrong with the unit that the county would determine would warrant a non-habitable status. The building is close to 70 years in age, and these are common issues found in these buildings of this age. Only 3 sales occurred during the analysis. These are shown on the comp sheet on page 3 of 33. Although 2 sales have square footages that are smaller than the subject, comparable 3 is the same model as the subject. Comparable 3 is 840 square feet, 2 bedrooms, and sold in October 2019 for $352,500. When looking at listing photographs of the subject and comparable 3, the interiors seem to be in similar condition, mostly in their original state, but with very minor cosmetic updates to the kitchen and bathroom areas. Comp 3, I believe, is the closest indicator of market value for the subject property, and the department would kindly request that the board please confirm the 2021 assessed value of the subject at $351,600. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, questions from board members? Mr. Yates.
To the county, you talked about the upgrade or not of the other units. Comp 3, which is the closest one in the comparables, do you know if that was upgraded at all?
I looked at the listing pictures again this morning, and what I had seen was perhaps an updated kitchen floor with some kind of linoleum and updated appliances and minor updates to the bathroom, such as like a water fixture. But that was it, just minimal updates.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, other questions? Mr. Matzkin.
I also, excuse me, I'd also like to spend a brief moment on comparable 2, which is clearly an inferior property because it has 1, not 2 bedrooms. But compare the sales price during the assessment period and the consequent assessment value to the subject, and the subject seems favorable, comparable to that one. I just don't want to overlook that. Comp 3 is a better comp. Comp 2 is by no means irrelevant.
Okay. Any other questions? No? Mr. Carvajal, if you take a minute to wrap up, please.
The department has nothing new to add. We just ask that the board please take a look at the sales that occurred, and please confirm our 2021 assessment value of $351,600. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Kumko, if you take a minute to wrap up your case, please.
Thank you for your patience and time. And I believe, our unit, is not valued any more than $40K or something. I believe there was no rent increase of 50% in the area. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, it's just among the board members. What's everybody think? Mr. Hoffman.
I mean, I think comp 3 is pretty good. It's kind of right on, same size, floor, everything. So I think that's it should be equalized to that. I mean, the only thing I'd consider is maybe a couple $1,000 for appliances and a kitchen floor as being improvement difference, but that's pretty minor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's almost in the weeds, but
yeah.
Okay. Other comments?
I don't really see anything in this case that we can make any adjustments. I think the sales price is, even though there's not a lot of them, but I think it's right on point. Yeah, like a couple thousand is not going to make that much difference. I think I'm okay with it.
Okay. Anybody, anything different? No?
No.
Okay. All right, I will move to confirm the county then at $351,600. A second? Okay,
second.
motion is second by Mr. Penaranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. The county is confirmed at $351,600. Okay, Mr. Carvajal, are you planning to stay in the meeting for the whole meeting? Because I understand that Mr. Loblianco is not going to be here, so we can, if you need to go, then in respect of your time, we can do you now, or we can put that at the end to move the other folks along.
If you don't mind, to be honest with you, I have an inspection at 11:30, so.
Enough said, that is fine. Then we
Thank
will
you.
move along without the appellant to the third case on the agenda, which is RPC 15084-031 at 3515 Washington Boulevard. Mr. Lobianco had a family issue and is not able to attend today, so we will just hear from the county. So Mr. Carvajal, if you will tell us about the property, and you can start your 8 minutes.
Sure. The subject is unit 117 at the Wentworth Place condo. The subject is 850 square feet, 1 bedroom and 1 bathroom. The neighborhood is comprised of 78 units, and we usually do not see a large amount of sales coming from this building. In fact, in the last 5 years, there have only been 8 units that have sold. This year, there was only 1 sale, and there was no change in values for the entire building from 2020 to 2021. The 1 sale that occurred is the same model as the subject. Comp 1 is unit 510, 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, same as the subject, 850 square feet. This unit has been renovated and sold for $321,000. I would consider unit 510 to be in the average condition that we see units sell for at Wentworth. The unit has slight updates to the kitchen and bathroom, but still retains a lot of its original features. Again, this unit sold in September 2019 for $321,000. Comp 2 is another sale of the subject's model. Although we would classify it as a late sale, it did happen 1 day after the analysis period ended. So I thought I would add it to the comparable sheet just to have another data point. Comp 3 is submitted to demonstrate equalization. Although the sale of Comp 3 happened 15 years ago in 2005, I would like to mention that when it sold in 2005, it was in its original 1960 condition, and it sold for $310,000. Comp 3 was not the last original condition unit to sell, though. Unit number 307, which is the same model as the subject, and listing photographs show that it has its original 1960s condition, bathroom, and possibly carpet.
Hello.
In October 2018, this unit sold for $293,000. Our assessments reflect market value, and as explained before, there was no change in assessment from 2020 to 2021. And in fact, there has only been a 5% increase to the total assessed value of this unit since 2015. The department kindly requests that the board please confirm the 2021 assessed value at $311,000, which the department feels is fair and equitable, considering past sales data, the current analysis, and the condition of the unit. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Questions from board members? No? Okay, any final comments, Mr. Carvajal?
Nothing to add. Thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you. It's just among the board members.
Comps are pretty good.
Yeah, I don't think there's much to add. I think the numbers, it's, you know, they show what it's supposed to be at. I'm okay with it.
You're right.
Yeah, my original question was going to be related to the comps and what's been rehabbed or not, but he answered everything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm good.
I would just add that the appellant's arguments aren't to the point at all.
Right, I agree.
Very weak,
Letter
very
evaluation, yeah. All right.
I'll go ahead and move that.
Okay, there we go. Thank you, Mr. Penaranda.
We confirm the assessment at $311,000.
All right, I'll second it.
All right.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. It's unanimous, 0. The county is confirmed at the 311.
I'm sorry, who seconded?
I did.
Okay.
Thank you, board. Have a good day.
Okay, thank you. All right, it's 9:45. Do we need to take a break, board members, or can we move forward? Move forward?
Yeah.
Sure. Fine.
Okay, do we have, this is interesting. Do we have Clark Broderson on the line?
Yes, he was here. Yes, he is.
Mr. Broderson, can you turn on your microphone and your camera, please?
Yes, I am on the line. Can you hear me okay?
I can. Is your camera on?
Please forgive me. Miss Torres was very helpful in getting me set up for the call. I explained to her I would be traveling for work, so I can turn it on, but it might be more distraction than help.
Well, we really like to see your face.
Sure,
So
let's
go
try
ahead
to
and
do
put it
that.
on.
Hold on 1 minute. Let me
Sometimes
see
it's easier to understand when you can see the person.
Yeah, let's try to do that. Can the group see me?
There we go.
Very good.
All right, moving along on the agenda, the fourth case, it's RPC 150760001 at 1300 North Hudson Street. Mr. Broderson, you can start with your 8 minutes and tell us about your property.
Yeah, I think you may have me misassociated. I'm 907 North Daniel.
Oh, this is the other Mr. Broderson, the next case.
Okay, I have 1300 and it says Clark Broderson.
The next case is also Broderson, but it's a different
No,
name.
I understand that. So,
I'm David Broderson, so I will, I'll go on mute, yeah?
yeah, okay.
All right.
So do we have Clark Broderson on? Rosa?
Sorry. I haven't seen him log in. I don't see him in here.
All right,
Yes.
well, we will continue on. Then we don't have Mr. Broderson, so Ms. Churchill, you can start and tell us the county's case on this.
Okay. This property was virtually inspected. We're doing the first one. I'm sorry. I just wanted to confirm. 1576-1.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
property
1300 North Hudson Street is what we're doing.
The property was virtually inspected on February 5th, 2021. And the property is a 2-story brick home. It has 5 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. The year built is 1940, effective age 1960, and the quality is good. The appellant feels that because his property is strictly a rental and that he has not been able to rent during the current pandemic, his value should be reduced based on that fact. The subject property is used as a rental property with multiple tenants, but is valued as a single-family home, as are all other similar duplex properties, and not on an income approach. Smaller duplex properties that are surrounded by single-family parcels and do not report income and expense information are valued as single-family parcels. The appellant's neighborhood, 506051, increased on average 4% due to the sales that occurred during the analysis period. The property's grade and effective age appear in line with the neighborhood and current condition. As a result of the review, changes were made to the bed and bath count and location. Basement square footage was corrected from 0 to 300, equaling 30%, with minimal finish. We corrected heating to radiant heat and corrected cooling to none, due to being able to see window units in rental information online. And we also corrected exterior from brick to brick veneer. You can see from the comp sheet we provided the following comps. 1837 North Hartford Street, which is 1535-8, is a 2-story brick veneer home with 3 bedrooms, 1 half bath, 3 full baths, and a finished basement. This property sold for $1,350,000 on 7/20/20. And the current assessment value is $1,352,900. This property has lesser square footage and lesser effective age, but still has a higher assessment value than the subject. The following comp is 1411 North Hartford Street, which is RPC 1569-5, a 2-story vinyl siding home with 4 bedrooms, 1 half bath, 3 full baths, and finished basement. This property sold for $1,300,000 on January 14th of 2020. The current assessment value is $1,242,600. This property has higher quality but lesser square footage and still has a higher assessment value than the subject. The third comp is 1604 North Garfield Street. RPC is 1567-26. A 1.5 story aluminum siding home with 4 bedrooms, 1 half bath, 1 full bath, and an unfinished basement. This property sold for $1,205,000 on 11/18/19. Current assessment value is $1,174,900. And this property has lesser square footage than the subject and less bathroom fixtures as compared to the subject, and the assessment value reflects this. As a result of the review, virtual inspection, and information submitted, it was determined that the assessment to be fair and equitable with minimal changes to the property. It is recommended that you confirm the 2021 value of $1,202,000. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Questions from board members? Mr. Matzkin.
I have a question for the department. Most of this is in the value of the land, and the progression of size makes sense for the comparable, certainly. But the subject is a non-conforming size. The base of the any new home, and here's one that an effective age of 1960 in an upscale neighborhood, can never be expanded because it's non-conforming. And so I compare the land assessment from the subject to comparable 3, and I see that it's 15% less. Is that kind of the standard discount for non-conforming lots, to it those that are too small around the county or North Arlington, however you?
Yes, that is. So yes, that is. We value per home site valuation and what currently exists on the property. So we look at each neighborhood and what the standard lot size is per that neighborhood. That kind of.
So, I mean, I said 16.5%, but that's kind of for this section of Arlington. When it's too small, that's what you do. You reduce it by that standard amount, 16%. Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? No? Okay, Ms. Churchill, do you have anything else that you need to add?
I just thank you again. I would like to remind that the board, the subject was used as a rental property, but is valued as a single family home. We found the current assessment to be fair and equitable and recommend the board confirm the assessment value of $1,202,000. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, it's just among the board members. No, I'll just start. I mean, I don't think the appellant presented any case or anything that would suggest that it's worth $67,500. The fact is, I mean.
Hello. I've been cut out of it. I lost all my volume. I've just been able to hear part of what's been going on. I had to call back in. This is Clark Broderson. I lost contact with you when you started this. I lost all my volume. I had to call back in. I've heard nothing that's gone on until about 2 minutes ago.
All right. So do you have connectability?
I can hear you now. I lost all volume about 10 minutes ago, just as you started with me. On your end, I don't know what happened.
Do you have a camera? Where's your camera?
I told Rosa Torres that I'm audio only.
All right. Okay, Mr. Broderson, I'm going to give you your 8 minutes to tell us about your property. You luckily clicked back in at the right time. So go ahead and tell us.
All right, I'll be very brief. The assessment for coming up has raised my land value by $47,000 and my building value by $2,300. Now, this does not, and I realize you will not take into account the pandemic, but the building built diagonally across the street from me about 10 years ago changed my whole tenant mix. And I went from having professional people to getting only hourly type workers. And they many times don't pay and you have to evict. In any event, in December of 2019, my tenants all stopped paying prior to the pandemic, and I filed my evictions. I listened to them over Christmas. I shouldn't have. And I filed my evictions on March 3rd, 2020. And the courts closed due to our governor's action on March 18th, and my court date was for March 27th. So I went until December of 2020, housing these people for free, and I had to pay the utilities to keep the gas on for the boilers, the electricity to spark the boilers, and the water for the water pressure for the boilers. So I had to pay these people's utilities for a year, and I've had no income since December 2019. I realize you won't take that into account. I consider that unconscionable. In any event, because the government shut me down, and then the pandemic caused, after I got them out in December of 2020, I've been unable to rent, and I've advertised every week. Now, they've just built a brand new building across the street from me, which is going to make it impossible for me to rent, because I have a 1940 building that's not competing with these people, these buildings, and this is not being taken into account. More concretely, back to your figures, my lot size is 3,759 square feet. Your closest comparable to me at 1411 North Hartford Street is 6,514 square feet. Your next comparable at 37 North Hartford is 8,163 square feet, and your 1604 North Garfield is 5,770 square feet. Your two larger comparable square feet are 55 and 45% higher in square and lot size than mine. I have tried to sell my building now for a year. I've had 5 people who were interested, and they all concluded the lot was too small and they would not make an offer. 5 people kicked the tires real good, and I've owned the building 45 years. I bought it from my retirement nest egg to be able to take care of me when I'm 74 years old. I can't rent it, and I can't sell it, and the lot is too small, and no one will buy it. And that's what's going on. My additional point is, I'm sorry to be so agitated. My additional point is I have no forced air heat like it said originally. I have old-fashioned radiators. I have no air conditioning, and I disagree with your interior square footage. Now, my understanding is that your square footage assessment for interior, for usable square footage is based on interior square footage. If I'm wrong, I'm incorrect. But I believe it's usable interior heated covered roof square footage, and mine's incorrect. Your building shows 15 by 11 for one portion on your diagram, and 26 by 32. You've got to reduce that to less than 14, slightly less than 14, and slightly less than 10 for the 15 times 11, and your 26 by 32, your other portion, you've got to reduce to slightly less than 25 and slightly less than 31. And you're coming out, therefore, with about the same square footage of 1411 North Hartford square feet, which is 1972. You've got me at 2410. So when you take it down to the 1972 square footage of the next closest comparable, that reduces on your current year assessment, my building assessment by $40,000. And I submit that my square footage on my land has to be reduced. You've got mine at the $930,000 in value. You've got the $6,514 at 1411 North Hartford at $1,010,000, and the $8,163 at $1,040,000. You've got to reduce my value of my lot square footage by at least 50% to be fair, to be reasonable. This cannot stand to charge me the same thing you're charging for lots that are double in size. They're 45 to 55% larger in size. It's ridiculous. It's not right. And you're charging me for a stoop that I have one awning over. That's not interior square footage, if I'm wrong, but I don't see how you can charge for outside square footage. It has to be, to my understanding, interior square footage. Now, I can't compete with the new buildings across the street, diagonally across, or the brand new one directly across. There's no way my building, my tenant attractivity has decreased tremendously. I watch it happen when they build a building across the street. I'm now getting tenants that are hourly workers that many times don't pay, and I have to evict. My whole tenant complexion base changed about 10 years ago or 12. I'm sorry, I'm 74. I don't remember exactly when they built the building, but when they built the building diagonally across the street, everything changed. Now, I can't sell it. I can't rent it. And my last point for you is, please, that I believe there's a market for houses. I see they're selling, but I don't think there's any market for multifamily apartments. I don't think they're selling at all. Now, maybe I'm incorrect, but I'm compared here to houses, and that's apples and oranges, and I don't think that's proper. So now I realize you're not going to take account into the pandemic, which is obvious real-world economic force that's come into play. All the renters all moved back home. My renters were all younger, and they all moved back home. They all lost their jobs. It's still not renting. I advertise every week. I just listed it with a real estate company because I've had it for sale for a year and I can't sell it. And like I say, everybody who's looked at it, and they looked at it hard, all concludes that the lot's too small and they will not make a written offer. I've had no written offers. I'm sorry to be so agitated, but I'm very irritated that my government, that blocked me from making evictions and required me to house people. You've ruined all the small landlords, and the government, local government has ruined all the small landlords in the country. We're desperate. I'm 74. My Social Security income is $34,000 a year. My real estate taxes on my 2 places in Arlington, both of which I've got for rent, trying to rent rooms out of my house, I'm spending $28,000 a year in real estate taxes. You're forcing me to sell. I've been here all my life. Anyway, I'm done. Go ahead and deny me. I'm done.
All right, thank you, sir. Okay, we're going to move back into questions then, and then both sides will be able to address that in final wrap up. I have one question for the county. Mr. Cho, can you try to address the issue that he brought up about the square footage?
So we have done an exterior measurements and verified everything on the exterior of the home. And then we do take into consideration, I've looked at interior photos that I found online through the rental property and made adjustments for the basement and things like that. And the top story being, we have it as a 2.5 story home. So that's taken into consideration as lesser square footage as well. So as far as I can see that our finished area is correct based on what we've looked at without physically being inside of the home.
Okay, and then also just one last question. The appellant brought up about the no air conditioning and the radiators, which is typical of that year property and whatnot. Would that be considered in the quality and condition?
So we do look at everything. I did make corrections when he filed his initial review, and we did have the cooling and the heat incorrect. So I did make corrections to that as well. He is at good quality, which I mean, it's kind of middle of the road. So I feel like that is taken into account a little bit, but it's more, obviously it's more than just that information. But we did make the corrections that he did state about the cooling. So we did remove them from the record, and we did pick up the basement as well because we didn't have that initially. So when I broke down all the different corrections, we did make a handful of corrections that he did just state with the cooling and the heating.
Okay, thank you. Other questions from board members? Mr. Hoffman?
Mr. Broderson, I apologize. There's a fire drill going on in the background if it's loud.
Something's ringing or something. Yeah.
Yeah, don't worry about that.
Okay.
What's your opinion of value on your property? Because you listed 67.5.
Yeah. Well, my chief concern here is I've got a lot that's too small that no one will make an offer.
I'm sorry,
on.
I'm going to interrupt because you can wrap up later when we get to wrap up. So can you just like answer Mr. Hoffman's question? What is your value?
I couldn't hear you.
What's your opinion of value on your property?
My opinion of value is essentially based upon the fact that my lot is 3,759 versus your other much larger lots that are in your comparables.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt again. If you can give us a value, you'll need an
therefore, to
explanation.
answer your question, I consider the building worth $500,000.
Okay, so if somebody came to you with an offer for $500,000 to buy it, you'd take it.
Well, I mean, I'd like to get more, but I can't even get an offer. I mean, in real concrete, in the real world, I've been in the real world. I've had no offers, and I've had it for sale for a year.
At what price?
Okay.
Hold on.
All right. Other questions from board members?
Sorry, let me finish this.
Again, the main reason, and you have to take this into account, is my lot is half the size of these comparables.
Mr. Broderson, you've already had time to present your testimony. Now we're asking questions. You just answer when you're asked. Are there other questions? Mr. Yates.
Briefly, what price have you had it on the market at?
Mr. Broderson.
He's muted.
Did he get disconnected?
No, he's there, but he's muted. He needs to.
Mr. Broderson, can you turn your microphone on and answer the question, please?
Would you like for me to call him back, Mary?
Sure. In the interim, does anybody have any other questions for Ms. Churchill?
I pretty much wanted to know also what price he had it listed for, but I have more information, for comments.
Okay.
Sorry about the fire drill. It's over now.
Okay.
I knew that was coming at 10. Should have warned you.
Well, if it was in my house, I'd still be running around looking for which battery went.
Sorry, there's no response.
Ms. Kelly, I'm sorry, what did you say?
I said there's no response. It's just ringing.
Okay. All right, we're going to proceed then without him because we've waited 4 minutes. Okay, is there any other questions for the county? No? Okay, Ms. Churchill, do you have anything else you want to add to wrap up the case?
I don't think so. I, again, just ask that you confirm the assessed value of $1,202,000. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, this is now only among the board members. So what does everybody think? Good. Mr. Hoffman.
I mean, I really would have wished I could dig into some questioning a little bit more with the appellant, because he's presenting his case as it's a rental property. There's multi-tenants in there. There's no income. So, if you want to try to go along his line of logic, you really need to look at the income stream before the pandemic and try to figure out what a fair value would be. So absent that, I don't think he's really made a case other than, a lot of other factors being discussed. So, we're supposed to support the department unless we're given some sort of kind of compelling evidence otherwise. So I would support the department's assessment.
Okay, Mr. Penaranda.
Yeah, I looked at this property a little more in detail based on the numbers that he was bringing and the reasons that he wanted to have the reduction done. But there are 3 units that he markets this for rent in this property. The top floor, it's a 4-bedroom, 2-bath. He lists that as 1,600 square feet. Then there's a 2-bedroom, 1-bath apartment for 1,200 square feet, and then the basement 1-bedroom, 425 square feet. The rents that he's asking is $4,800 for the 4-bedroom, $3,400 for the 2-bedroom, and $1,600 for the 1-bedroom. Altogether is about $9,800. He's marketed this property as a multi-unit building. He didn't really have it listed on the market for the past year, as far as the information that I have. He had it listed in 2017 for $1,600,000. He was scheduled to be listed on the market again the last week on 5/10, but he postponed the starting date for the listing starting tomorrow. The new listing price is going to be $2,699,000. That's going to be his asking price as a multi-unit building. So it's not really that, he thinks that the property is not worth. I mean, it's there. We all want to get a break on our taxes, but yeah, this is not really to me, this is not a real case.
Wow.
Well, that's certainly interesting information. In addition, I mean, the whole issue of the pandemic and the no rents, I mean, there's plenty of federal and state money available to landlords that they could apply for the lack of the rents. So right. I don't find, much credence in that argument. The fact that, I mean, I think the $2 million that he wants to list it for is a ridiculous price, but That's the beauty of America. You can list it for whatever you want.
Well, I mean, the remarks that are in the listing, it says, you know, high rents, low vacancy. And so I'm not sure how
right.
this really
And
brings
you're looking at the same property.
Right, right. And it's scheduled to be on the market tomorrow, so
That's convenient.
yeah.
All right.
Well, I think, I mean, again, the burden of proof is on the appellant. I don't feel that there was anything other than a lot of argumentation and, you know, unnecessary tones with the board and the county on it. I don't see any reason why not to support the county's assessment on this. Is anybody else contrary to that?
I mean, if we had to raise the value, this would be a point to do it, but I think I'm okay with it.
All right. Okay, then I'm going to move to confirm the county at $1,202,000.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion is second by Mr. Penaranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous, 5-0. The county's confirmed at $1,202,000. And Rosa, you can call the appellant and let him know what that decision was.
Yes, I will.
Okay, thank you ever so much. All right, do we have Mr. Broderson back on the line?
Yes, he's
Yeah,
there.
this is David Broderson. Yes.
Okay, David, can you put your camera on?
Yes, I'm trying now. Do people see me okay?
Yeah, there you go. All right, and you are pulled over, sir, correct?
Yes, I am.
Oh, good. I don't want you driving while we're doing this. Okay. All right, next on the agenda is RPC 1803315. Property is located at 907 North Daniel Street. Mr. Broderson, you can start with your 8 minutes and tell us about your property.
Great. Listen, thank you to the board for taking the time to hear my my case today. I did communicate with Ms. Churchill by email a couple of times. So let me just try to go through some facts. I'm sure they're in the file. The house is a single-family home built in 1915. It was last sold for $372,500. The house is a one-story bungalow, contains 1,084 square feet. It's an unrenovated home. It's an unrenovated home. Some work was done before we purchased the house. It is my home, my residence. And I know it's been helpful to listen along actually to some of the other cases to hear sort of the board's guidelines. My main point of contention with the assessment is I don't believe that there's been sufficient adjustments made to the sales comps. I have focused on the 3 sales comps that Ms. Churchill sent in her original opinion. And I think it's important to recognize, I've heard condition talked about and size talked about. It's important to recognize the condition and the size of my home. And maybe qualitatively, it's important that the board recognize this also is a non-compliant lot. So it's a non-compliant home. It sits on a shared driveway. And it means that the house could never be redeveloped. And obviously, a lot of the values in Arlington now are redevelopment values. The lot contains 5,500 square feet, and I believe all of the 3 comps were on much larger lots. So what I've tried to do in my arguments, and I believe you have both my hard copy file and my electronic file, because I wanted to make sure you saw the photos in the electronic file of the comps. So you could see, they aren't really of like for like quality, and they certainly are of like for like size, both lot size and building size. And when I try to do some kind of quantitative adjustment, I've included an Excel worksheet that has calculations in it. I come up with an average, so an unweighted average value per building square foot based on the comps Ms. Churchill used of $724 per building square foot. If I apply that $724 per building square foot to my square footage of 1,084, I get a value of 803,539. If I then look at that same kind of value based on the land square footage, the straight average land square footage of the three comps is $150 per land square feet. If I apply that $150 per land square feet to my 5,500 square foot lot, I get, where's the number? I'm sorry, the first one was 784,604, and the land square footage adjustment is 803,539. So I've come up with a value, a rounded value of $803,500. I believe that that's supported by the facts of the case, the size of the house, the quality, the fact that it's a non-compliant lot, and I hope those factors be taken into consideration. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Ms. Churchill for the county.
Yes, thank you. Okay, this property was virtually inspected February 8th of 2021. The property is a one-story with attic wood siding home, 2-bedroom, 2-bath with a year built of 1915 with an effective age of 1970 and the quality being very good. The appellant feels this property increased in total 9% this year and is not consistent with fair market value. He stated the property is non-compliant due to a shared driveway and states the property cannot be redeveloped. The appellant provided the following comp. 724 North Barton Street, which is RPC 183929. This property sold for $665,000 in a very poor condition and as is on 10/26/2020. The property was updated through permitted work and then sold again for $965,000 on April 5th of 2021. The current assessment value being $999,200. The appellant's neighborhood 506057 increased on average 7.4% due to the sales that occurred during the analysis period. The subject's assessment was increased as a result of neighborhood increases to the land and improvements that were applied to all properties in the neighborhood. The property's quality and effective age appear in line with the neighborhood. The appellant submitted plans which match what we have on file. The assessment only reflects what's currently there and does not consider potential redevelopment value or use. The appellant also submitted a partial private fee appraisal from 2013. Changes as a result of the review were correcting bedroom count from 3 to 2 bedrooms. You can see from the comp sheet we provided the following. 2802 First Road North, which is RPC 187410, is a 1.5-story brick veneer home with 3 bedrooms, 2 full baths, and an unfinished basement. This property sold for $908,000 on 4/3 of 2020 during the analysis period, with a current assessment value of $930,600. This property has a lesser quality of average plus and a lesser effective age than the subject. The second comparable is 200 North Cleveland Street. RPC is 187329, a 2-story brick veneer and vinyl siding home with 3 bedrooms, 1 half bath, 2 full baths, and a finished basement. This property sold for $969,900 on 10/30 of 2019. Current assessment value of $974,200. This property as well has a lesser quality than the subject. It has greater finished square footage and a higher effective age. The third comparable, 611 North Fillmore Street, RPC 1852004, is a 1-story aluminum siding home with 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, and an unfinished basement. This property sold for $855,000 on February 19th of 2020 as a land sale. The current assessment value of $882,400. This property has a lesser quality and finished square footage as well, but again, it was sold as a land sale. Comparables 1 and 2 were the 2 lowest valid sales prices outside of a single side-by-side sale in the subject's neighborhood. This can be found on the analysis page on page 12. As a result of the review, the virtual inspection and information submitted, it was determined that the 2021 assessment is fair and equitable, and it is recommended that you confirm the 2021 value of $941,000. Thank you.
Okay, thanks to both of you. Okay, questions from board members? Mr. Matzkin.
Excuse me, for the department, what is this R6 zoning?
This is R5.
To the county.
Mr. Yates.
In looking over the file, what has happened is the building has actually gone down in the last couple years. The land has gone up since 2019, 100,000, which is really where the increase is. I guess my question really lies along the lines is, a 5,500 square foot lot and the zoning, there's not a lot you can do with that land. And the county considers that in any way?
So we did look at similar properties all in zoning R5 with 5,500 square feet.
Okay.
And they all are around at the same value as the subject's property. And so we based on the home site valuation in the neighborhood.
Can I piggyback on the end of you, Mr. Yates? So on that, on the R5, you have an address. I know they're very common across the county, the shared driveway and the impact of value for that. So could you speak to that a little, Ms. Churchill?
And I don't know if there was a picture of it. It's not a pipe stem. It's more of just a very large driveway where you can fit 2 cars. So it is a shared driveway, but again, we have no sales that indicate that would stop someone from purchasing the home or reduce the value based on that.
Okay. Other questions? Mr. Hoffman.
I saw in the notes that the bedroom count was reduced from 3 to 2. Was that was there any kind of adjustment in the value for that, or?
Bedroom count does not affect value at all. It's more of a descriptive purpose. Just the bathroom count is what actually adds or takes away value.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Penaranda.
Ms. Churchill, what is the difference of the base land value between R5 and R6 in that area?
I will, if you'll give me 1 second, I will have to look that up. Give me 1 second, please.
Thank you. I asked that because all the comparables are R6 and this one is R5.
Setback.
Okay, so they are actually both 800,000 with adjustments being made based on the average size.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
No other questions? Okay, Ms. Churchill, if you take a minute to wrap up, please.
Okay. The subject's quality and effective age are in line in reviewing all comparable sales in the neighborhood, other similar comparables and lot sizes, and the information submitted. It was determined that the current assessment is fair and equitable, and we recommend confirming the assessed value of $941,000. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Broderson, if you take a minute to wrap up, sir.
Sure, I might, if I may, talk about a few questions as I've heard the answers to the board's questions. So I heard just mentioned on the R6 versus R5 zoning classification adjustments for land by size. And I just want to make sure I heard that correctly, because in fact, it's very clear that the comps used were not adjusted by size to arrive at the value for our property. And one of the members pointing out that, you know, virtually all the value of the assessment is in the land, and that land has been arbitrarily marked up. Listen, I think if we focus on a comp that's most logical, and this may sound contradictory, it would be the 611 North Fillmore, right? And the fact that that was traded on a land value very clearly shows the value of the land, right? So if the value of the land at North Fillmore was $149 per lot square foot, that would actually result in a land value for my property of well below 800,000. So I just want to sort of, you know, make sure that the Q&A and particularly the answers to the questions are taken into consideration in the finding of my case. And I'll be honest, I'm looking for a fair valuation. I've been a property owner in Arlington for more than 20 years. I have a daughter in Arlington public school system. I understand the nature of real estate taxes. I hold a master's degree in real estate. I'm a licensed real estate professional in the state of Virginia. I understand the position the board's being put in here, but you know, I would ask some consideration be shown if it's not the 803,500 valuation. You know, I'd be willing to consider some kind of average between what Ms. Churchill has arrived at and my proposal.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, it's just among the board members. What's everybody think? Mr. Matzkin.
I'll start then. I had concerns about the land value, but that was addressed absolutely. The base level for either in that neighborhood is the same. We know that lots 5,500, 6,500 sell for about that amount. Second, unfortunately, the appellant's assessment of land isn't how mass appraisal is done. It's more lumpy, stair-step staged, and not each individual square foot is equal in value to every other. So I was looking at the home value, and based on the comparables, actually, given that the appellant's quality is a little bit higher than the others, I couldn't find any. I was looking for wiggle room, couldn't find any. So I'm very confident that the department's analysis is correct.
All right, other comments? Mr. Panoranda?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's one of the things that, you know, in Arlington, we look at the home site itself as a base value for each lot. It's not really that we look at square footage, you know, prices. I know some areas, some other states, some counties, they do that, and it varies slightly or sometimes a lot more, but you know, land in Arlington is not valued that way for market purposes. So I don't really see much adjustment to be made here, to be honest. I also did the same as Ken to see if maybe the condition of the property would be adjusted downward, but I don't see much difference between what was sold and, you know, especially compared to the property that was sold and resold, you know, after it was upgraded. So I'm okay with the assessment the way it is.
Okay. Any other? Mr. Hoffman or Mr. Yates?
No, I agree with Jose.
Yeah, the land is the land, and it has gone up considerably. Ken brings up good points with the house. I'm looking at the house size differences, the finished area differences, and the quality. Where originally I thought it was a little more off. I'm not sure it's that far off if they put it on the market.
All right, would somebody like to make a motion?
I'll go ahead and move that we confirm the assessment at 941,000.
Okay, motion and a second by Mr. Matskin. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. The county is confirmed at 941,000 even. Thank you, Mr. Broderson.
Right.
Okay, is Kynes Nicholson on?
Yes, he is.
Oh, there he is. Okay. All right, the final case for today is RPC 18038-015-819 North Barton Street. Mr. Nicholson, you can start with your 8 minutes and tell us about your property, sir.
Sure, yes, and this is Matt Nicholson. Kynes is my wife,
Okay.
so yes, sorry, just to clarify that. So
Okay,
yes,
thank
we
you.
are the homeowners of 819 North Barton. This is a very small property, or a very small house on a very small piece of property, 3,600 square feet, probably the smallest lot for a single family home in all of Lyon Park. Our assessment was for 2021 was assessed at 819,500. And when looking at the sort of standard of review for appeals for property tax assessments, I guess there's two things to look at. One, is it valued at more than the fair market value? And that would, I guess, look at comparables. Or two, was the assessment uniform in its application? And I think when looking at both of those pieces of the standard, I would say that that's not the case. I know there were some comparables that were given in the assessment. I would note that all of those comparables are of land that is much larger than ours, and of properties that are much larger than ours. I will say the value of the property, or the value of the improvement, is not in dispute here. My dispute is only with the value of the land, so we can take that off the table, I guess. In looking at comparables, like I said, I think these are of lots that are much larger than ours, and not comparable, and much highly valued. One comparable that I did offer was a fair market sale that happened like 6 or 7 weeks after the close of the covered period. This was a house about 3 or 4 houses down from us on the same block, sold at $665,000, much less than our property is valued at. This is a property also that is bigger in size and bigger in land value, almost 1,000, about 800 square feet larger in land value, and it sold at $665,000. I noticed the appraiser's comments were that this was in poor condition, but that is not a reflection of the land. That was a reflection of the house. So I would submit to you that this is an indication that fair market value of North Barton Street is much less than what I was valued at. So in terms of comparables, that's what I've got to offer. In terms of the uniformity of the application of the assessment, I would point you to a chart that I included that talks about the square foot per land value. And I know I've heard there's been comments by the board in some of these earlier ones that you don't really look at square feet, but I think it's tough to not look at it in this case because it shows there is a lack of uniformity. If you look at my lot, it's about 200, the assessed land per square feet, it's $200 per square foot. And you look at these other properties, they're sometimes 30 to 40% less for a much larger lot, a lot that's more marketable, a lot that for a real estate speculator has more to do, has more to operate with. Our house is non-conforming. It's too close to the property line, so there's not a whole lot we can do with it. It's a very narrow piece of land. Quite frankly, it's tough to see how a 3,600 square foot piece of property is valued at $720,000 on the land value, but something that's 6,678, almost twice as large, is valued at $808,000, only a $88,000 increase for a property that's nearly twice the size, much more marketable. You could build a much bigger house if you wanted to do a tear down, which is what a lot of people are doing in these neighborhoods. And these small property owners were bearing the brunt of subsidizing the larger property owners. We use less resources. We have no children. We don't have kids in the public school system. It's just my wife and I, and you'll see our land value has gone up several $100,000s in the last couple of years alone, based on these assessments, and they're pricing people like us out of the neighborhood based on the small size of our land. So again, I don't think it's being uniformly assessed when you look at the square foot per land size, and would ask that that be taken into consideration, because there's no real comparables in this area of such a small piece of land. So I think you have to look at that. So appreciate everyone's time and happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Churchill for the county, please.
Yes, thank you. This property was virtually inspected on February 10th of 2021. The property is a one-story home. The property has 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom with an unfinished basement, year built of 1927, and effective age of 2002, quality being good plus. The appellant believes his property is valued above fair market value. He agrees with the value of the improvement, but does not agree with the value of the land. And the appellant provided the following comps: 724 North Barton Street, which is RPC 183929, a 2-story shingle asbestos home with 2 bedrooms, 1/2 bath, 1 full bath, and an unfinished basement. This property sold for $665,000 on 10/26/2020 in poor condition as an as-is sale, and was updated and sold again for $965,000 on 4/5/21. This property is larger in square footage, reflecting in the assessment value of $999,200. The other comparable submitted by the appellant was 3017 North Pershing Drive, a 1-story brick veneer home with 2 bedrooms, 2 full baths, and a finished basement. This property was sold for $791,025. This sale was determined to be a not valid sale and sold off market. The current assessment value of that property is $813,900. The appellant's neighborhood 506057 increased on average 7.4% due to sales that occurred during the analysis period and within the neighborhood. The property's age and condition appear in line with the property and neighborhood, and the appellant's comparables were as is sale in poor condition that sold this year after some updating for substantially more and an off-market sale. The subject's property is smaller in land lot size and improvement size, but this is reflective in the assessment. Price per square footage is always higher on a smaller lot and smaller lots and improvements, and is not used to calculate assessments. Arlington County values on a per home site basis, meaning the value of the land is in the existence of a home site itself and not the square footage of the land. Adjustments are made to lots with sizes that are below or above the average lot size as the subject. There are 9 other lots near this subject that have the exact same square footage or less and have the same land valuations. There is a 10% adjustment on this property, which is the standard for lots of this size in this neighborhood. This property is in the same neighborhood as the previous case you heard today, with a standard base rate of $800,000. The subject's land value currently is at $720,000 due to the adjustment. After reviewing the analysis and all the sales that occurred in the neighborhood, it was determined that the subject's assessment was fair and equitable. You can see from the comp sheet we provided the following comps: 911 North Daniel, which is a 2-story brick veneer home, 4 bedrooms, 1/2 bath, 3 full baths, and a finished basement. The property sold for $860,000 on 11/20/19 with a current assessment value of $1,412,100. This is a land sale that was the original home was torn down for a new construction home built in 2020. 611 North Fillmore is a 2-story aluminum siding home with 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, and an unfinished basement. The property sold for $855,000 on 2/19/20 with a current assessment of $882,400. This is also a land sale. And the third comparable is 216 North Barton, a 1.5-story aluminum siding home with 4 bedrooms, 1/2 bath, 3 full baths, and a finished basement. This property sold for $979,000 on 11/12/20. The current assessment is $1,409,900, and this property has a higher effective age. I would like to point out again that comparables 1 and 2 are for our land sales. As a result of the review, virtual inspection, and information submitted, we determined the 2021 assessment to be fair and equitable. It is recommended that you confirm the 2021 value of $819,500. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Questions from board members? Mr. Hoffman.
Yeah, for the department, maybe I missed it. Was the next door house mentioned as a kind of a comp on the assessment side, not on the sales side? I know it didn't sell, but it's appraised at, or it's assessed at 797,100, and from the street it looks like kind of like the same house, similar lot size, small lot. I'm just looking at it from the perspective of equalization.
I'm double checking that information right now. Hold on one second.
I think it's 823 North Barton.
You said 823?
823, yeah. 18038-015. Oh no, that's the subject.
No,
18038-016.
Okay, 18.
And the building is assessed at 77, and you see interior pictures of both improvements, and they're comparable. The paint job is better on the next door neighbor, but the fundamental interior is very much the same.
So 1838-16 being 823 North Barton has the same land value based on the per home site in the neighborhood, and the improvement value is 77,100. So
I was just saying, from the street they look very similar. I haven't seen interior on
No, again, I did see the interior pictures, and they're very, very much the same. I couldn't put an effective age on it, but they really are comparable.
So the neighbor has a lower quality than the subject. Wow. I'm just double checking the differences between.
Well, that house was redone about 5 years ago, so it's much higher quality than ours.
I think quality has a different definition than carpet and appliances.
It does have a higher effect. The neighbor does have a higher effective age.
Redone meaning it was, I think, gone down to the studs and completely rehabbed.
We have some smaller permits on file for the neighboring property, but nothing that would indicate a complete rehab. I mean, it's something that we can look into, and it may just be a matter of we don't have the neighbor updated to where it maybe needs to be currently.
Yeah, take a look at Google Maps. The way that house looked 5 years ago to where it looks now, you'll see the difference.
Okay, that was my question. That's all. Thanks.
Okay, I have a question for the county on the land values. Ms. Churchill, I think that you testified, if I heard you correctly, that there's 9 other lots that are R5 in the neighborhood that are similar sized.
They are the same. Let me double. They are the same size, I believe. I'm trying to go back to where I spoke on that. Same or smaller size. 9 that are either the same exact size or actually lesser.
Okay, and they have, so the R5, it's 5,000, this is 36, so it's about 72%. But there's only a 10% adjustment. And so these are all just have a 10% adjustment on it?
Yes. Yes. I don't know if you heard me. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh, okay. And how do you determine that? Where do you determine that it becomes 10% versus 15%?
That I will. Hold on one second for me.
Hey, Mary, this is Derek Dubé. I'm the co-supervisor. I'm just trying to follow along and help out just to provide information. So size adjustments are determined over time and watching land sales that occur in the neighborhood. And if you've seen over the past 10 years or so, land sales don't directly correlate to price per square foot. A lot of times they get the lot for what they can get it for, and the prices are kind of all over the place. But we use our best judgment in determining what the average size is for a neighborhood and what kind of adjustments we have to make based on the actual market sales of those teardowns and what the developers are paying. The best data that we can use are the land sales themselves. So that's kind of where they're determined over time.
And so, and I understand that, and it's certainly subjective. I guess I'm just concerned. This is different. It's not like it's 500 square feet, less, or 1,000. I mean, this is 1,400 square feet of a small lot to start with, of only 5,000. It's not like it's 8,000 or 6,000. It just seems like 3,600. I think this is different from the previous cases that we talked about here. So do we have any land sales of 35 or 3,600 square feet lots?
We went back in the history on these 3,600 square foot lots, and none of them were land sales, but they've sold, and the market values held up true to their assessed values. Told us that we didn't need to make further adjustments on the ones that we currently had.
Okay.
If we did, it would throw them out of the line with the market sales. You can go back to several of those properties have sold and have been turned over. So we didn't make further adjustments, and the majority of our value is in the home site itself, which holds most weight for us in keeping up with the values in the neighborhood. So we did look at the sales in the past. They weren't land sales, but they were certainly sales that have turned over and told us whether the market values were true to assessments or not.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Other questions? Mr. Hoffman, I can't see you, so if you're raising your hand. Do you have anything else? No? Okay, Ms. Churchill, if you take a minute to wrap up your case then.
Sure. The subject's property is smaller in land lot size and improvement size, but this is reflective in the assessment. Price per square footage is always higher on smaller lots and improvements and is not used to calculate assessments. Arlington County values on a per home site basis, meaning the value of the land is in the existence of a home site itself and not the square footage of the land. Adjustments are made to lots with sizes that are below or above average lot size, such as the subject. Again, there are 9 other lots near the subject that have the exact same square footage or less and have the same land valuation. We found the current assessment to be fair and equitable and recommend the board confirm the 2021 assessment value of $819,500. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Nicholson, if you take a minute to wrap up your case, sir.
Yeah, sure. Appreciate everyone's consideration. I would just say that I think it shows a lack of uniformity in an application of the assessment that results when the result is something so disparity. There's such a wide disparity in terms of what my assessed land per square foot is versus properties that are much larger. There's something wrong with the base rate when a property half the size is paying nearly, it is being assessed at nearly 90% of what much larger properties are being assessed at. And if that's, that must be a fundamental problem with the base rate. And I would say that's not a uniform application of assessments when smaller properties are subsidizing the much larger, bigger properties in the neighborhood. So I appreciate the board's consideration. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, it's just among the board members now. Mr. Penaranda.
Just wanted to point out the only difference that I can see with the house next door, which was renovated in 2016, it's the square footage. It's smaller than the subject property. It only shows as 777 square feet.
They were built same time by the same people. I think that the county absolutely needs to go back and review that 823 North Barton.
Yeah, I agree. They both look the same.
Under-assessed.
Mr. Matzkin.
Just wanted to echo what Mary had said about the land and the percentage difference and of this versus the last non-compliant lot that we saw this morning. And also that the 50% difference in the discount. And I thought the department's response was a cogent one. And although at the time, before Mary's question, I had reservations that I no longer do.
Okay, anyone else? Yeah, I mean, I too. I mean, obviously on the land, the 3,600, it is getting down there. I think to the appellant's point that, you know, somebody's not going to come in there and build, you know, a $1.5 million house on it because the land's not big enough, but nor will it be assessed at that level either. You know, the fact that there's 9 other that are assessed at that, I mean, at least from a standpoint of equalization, my concern was, and I've, you know, said this in years past, that just because it's assessed and equalized doesn't make it right. But if what Mr. Dubé is saying, that the sales are there of these smaller lots that are supporting the assessed values, you know, that's taken away my concern from that standpoint. But this is right on the edge for me. Mr. Hoffman.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is a market for these smaller houses and smaller lots. It's not as a tear down, but as a somewhere to live.
Mm-hmm.
And we're seeing that in the sales prices.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, my only concern was really with equalization with the neighbor. I'd be open to a reduction to get somewhere closer to the neighbor's value. You know, equal to, or it's still a 5. If you went back to the neighbor's house's assessed value, it would be a 5% increase over last year, and that's over multiple years of 5% increases. So, I mean, what we have now from the department is an 8% increase from last year. So, I mean, I'm open for it. I don't know if I had the support there, but I would look at reducing to 797, 100 if I think, you know, if everybody thought that was fair.
And what is that based on again, Greg?
Equalization with the best comparable property available in all of Arlington, which is the neighboring 3,600 square foot lot with a very similar house built on it.
And what's the breakdown of the 797?
Land and improvements. I've got, I mean, I would mirror the other one, 77, 100 for improvements and the balance to the land.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Matzkin, I was doing some math there.
That's quite all right. I was following that same tenor for sure, but in the conversation that we've had, the Q&A, my question is, we suspect that there's lacking information about the neighbor such that the department assessed the improvement less. My question purely to us is that educated guess enough for us to say, no, it's underassessed, the assessments for improvements really aren't the same? Or should we just say, hey, this is what the department says, this is the size, this is the effective age, and therefore it's worth less? You know, I'd like to get it down to 22,400, make it the same, but the department says they're not the same. I'm saying it differently, maybe hopefully be a little clearer. But we think it really is the same, actually a little superior, and it is underassessed. So I'm feeling uncomfortable to bring the appellants down to what we think is an underassessed property. But perhaps we should just go with what we have, no guesstimates whatsoever, and therefore we really should bring it down that to the 77.1 level for the improvement. Anybody have any comments on that? I hope the second time is a little clearer.
Mr. Conrad.
Yeah, I mean, I did the same as you, Ken. I looked at all the pictures, you know, from both sales, and I don't really see much difference. You know, the only number that I saw different was that the square footage, and which may be computed, you know, incorrectly. And that's one thing that we've seen many times in other properties. So they both look the same. They, you know, as far as quality, I don't see much difference. So I wouldn't be opposed to it. I'll be, to be honest, I would be comfortable making the adjustment to the assessment for the property next door to the same value.
And see with reassessments what happens next year for
Right.
the neighboring property.
Yeah, I mean, it's still a 5% increase from last year. It's not like we're taking it down below baseline here.
Mr. Gates?
I was not leaning that direction, but I definitely can see that, and I think I would go along with it.
All right. All right, Mr. Huffman, do you want to make a motion?
Yes, I do. I mean, motion to reduce the assessment to 797,100 on the basis of equalization.
I'll second that.
Okay. Okay, so that's with equalization with the property next door.
Yep.
And so just to clarify, so you've got a 77,100 on the improvement and 720 on the land.
Correct.
The breakdown of it?
Correct.
Okay. All right. And then we have a second by Mr. Penaranda?
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay. All right. The motion's on the table to reduce it to 797,100. All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. It's reduced to 797,100 based on equalizing with the next door property, reducing the improvements to 77,100 and leaving the land alone. And we'll see what happens next year on it. All right, thank you, Mr. Nicholson.
Thank you, board. Appreciate it.
Okay. All right, is there any other business from either board members or the county? No? Mr. Matzkin.
I have a housekeeping question that Deidre knows about. We can do it after we stop recording, but don't leave.
Okay.
I have a question.
Mr. Yates.
And this is more with the county. In the packets in the past, on the residential lots, it would show, we would have a page in there would show the area around the house, not just the comp area, and we would have a lot of discussion and be able to see what the neighbors are and their assessments and things like that. I think this would be very helpful to get back in that packet.
We were able to begin to print those maps as of this week. Initially, there was an issue with GIS, but that issue has been resolved. But you'll see the original maps in the packets going forward.
Okay. You're one step ahead of me because that was on my list of things, Mr. Gates. Okay, anything else from anybody else? Okay, well then we will stand adjourned at 10:59 and re-adjourn next Tuesday, the 25th at 9 a.m. for hearings. Thank you.
Thank you.
So can we stop recording here?